Hello, friends. It's Friday afternoon. We got those Friday vibes going on here in the studio.
Friday feeling on a Friday.
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 We'll get to Sir Charles playing in a
Friday.
minute. We'll get feeling right on a Friday afternoon.
We went two different songs there.
Yeah, we certainly did. We are definitely from two different eras and think differently about Fridays. But, yeah, the vibes were good today because the practice was a little lighter. So this episode of the Happy Half Hour Training Camp Daily Special Edition, whatever we're calling this, I think I'd say something different.
I think we have said something different every single day.
Yeah, that's all right. That's what we're doing here. But anyway, it's the Happy Half Hour. We're bringing it to you every day during training camp, except tomorrow, because it's Saturday, and Podcast Matt's got to have at least one day off.
I think there's a soccer game tomorrow, so he's not even off.
Well, there you go. So
Poor Matt.
I was today years old when I learned there was a soccer game tomorrow because we've been in training camp mode for the last little bit. And just off the top, I mean, today was just a walkthrough. A couple of walkthroughs lasted about an hour. The media's not out there. I just kind of stuck my head out to get some vitamin D earlier today. Wasn't a whole lot going on. They're walking through plays. They're putting in new stuff. They walk them through a little bit so that when they practice on Saturday, and Saturday's going to be the most intense practice so far. They're still not in full pads. That'll come Monday. But tomorrow will be a day where they get after it for a little bit longer,
Like
push
a
these
2-hour
guys
practice
a little bit longer, build up that endurance. But the one good thing we saw was Derek Brown was back on the field. He'd been out for a couple days with a personal reason. That's his news to share. We'll let him share it whenever he feels like it. But everything's good, and Derek is back on the field, and everybody was happy to see him. It was also Bryce's birthday.
It was. Real quick note on DB, though. In classic DB fashion, he was the first one on the field.
Yeah.
He was out there a good 15 minutes before anybody else. So
He's
he was
a
ready
He's
to
a
get back out
weirdo
there.
like that. They got a bunch of those weirdos who want to show up early and stay late, like
Couldn't be me.
like Derek Brown and Chuba Hubbard. I mean, those jerks are just making the rest of us look bad.
But yes, it was Bryce's birthday today as well. You know how old he is now?
24?
I think 23.
I don't know the answer to that. I saw Bryce in the hall earlier today and said happy birthday. And the only thing I had in my hand was a bottle of water like this. And I said, here, I got you the gift of hydration.
Wow.
And
you know what? It's a hot day.
That's right. And Bryce said, thank you. That was really considerate. All gifts are appreciated.
He did turn 24 today.
24 years old. So happy for Bryce Young, 24 years old. We're reaching that point. I mean, we've talked a lot this offseason about how Bryce is getting a little more comfortable in his skin, got a little more confidence. Most of that comes from results on the field.
For sure.
I mean, they won some games, and he played well second half of the year. So it's easier for that kind of stuff to come out. You don't want to be too swaggy when the 2023 season went the way it went. But he's feeling a little more comfortable. I actually saw something I'd never seen from him today in practice. He went finger guns on us a little bit. There was a point where he gave Andy Dalton the and then he put him in the holster, which was kind of funny. I like.
He looked a slightly more swaggy than Darin just did doing that.
Maybe just a little? Question mark? That wouldn't be very hard to do. But, yeah, so today was a light day. Not a whole lot of breaking news or anything like that. Although your Carolina Panthers do have a new cornerback on this roster, Mello Dotson. Welcome to town. Tell me everything you know about Mello Dotson.
He had a bunch of interceptions in college at Kansas and returned 4 of them for a touchdown.
That's right. 12 total interceptions in his career at Kansas. 4 of them going back for touchdowns, correct. But, yeah, 9 of those picks came the last 2 years.
That's impressive.
He's another big, long cornerback. I saw him out there working out after practice, long arm, long leg, fits the profile of a lot of these other guys they brought in the last little bit. So he's a new cornerback who's going to give him some depth to run around back there. That's a position. Corners and wide receivers do a lot of running in camp. So it's inevitable that some of those guys get dinged up early in camp. MJ Devonshire was waived injured in the corresponding move. He was claimed off waivers from the Raiders earlier this season. Coincidentally, Mello Dotson was with the Raiders until earlier this week, and they were the Raiders just brought in a bunch of old dudes and cut a bunch of young dudes. So Mello Dotson, welcome to town. You are now a Carolina Panther.
Get to know your teammates. during the cornerback drills today as well. You know, it's not uncommon for J.J. Jansen to act as quarterback during those drills.
Right.
Last year, he had Johnny Hecker, former high school quarterback, to do it with him.
Mm-hmm.
He is bereft of a second quarterback during those drills this year. So I don't know if you've noticed, but J.C. Horn has been filling in.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen either J.J. or J.C. to ask them this, but just from watching from the sidelines, I swear they were having like a little competition to see who could throw it farther, better, be a better quarterback. You know, JC's wobbled a little bit. JJ's had a better spiral, but JC's got a little farther.
JJ's got more time to practice things
That's
like
true.
that. JC actually has a day job that requires a lot more time and focus. And not to diminish our favorite long snapper, America's long snapper, JJ Jansen, whose streak is at 260 and counting.
Okay.
41st, I think, on the all-time games played list. But I need to talk about J.J. Jansen for a second here. And I know this might not exactly come through on video the same way. But let's talk for a second about this picture of J.J. Jansen and this 44 days till football graphic we put on social media earlier today. This blue steel J.J. Jansen might be my favorite J.J. Jansen of them all. The hair's looking good. He's got that serious face, that male model pose.
I told Darin we were going to get this printed as a poster for his office.
That's right. We should put that on the wall. We should put it on the shelf one day.
Oh, there you go.
We got all kinds of new stuff on the shelf. Today's new item is the program from the 2024 Gold Jacket Dinner in Canton, Ohio, when our very own Julius Peppers was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And oddly enough, coincidentally enough,
wow, look at there.
I'm wearing the shirt today, Julius, number 377. That's on the inside of his jacket and all the cool places up in Canton. So we have added the program from the Gold Jacket Dinner. Yesterday, I forgot to introduce our item. That is a can hugger from Veets in Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, yeah, that Senior Bowl hotspot.
Yeah, that's a
Veets.
dive bar of dive bars popularized by coaches and personnel guys in Mobile during Senior Bowl
You know
week.
what's funny? I'm from Mobile. I grew up in Mobile. That is where I go home to when I go home to see my family.
That's right.
The only time I've ever stepped foot in Veets in my life is when I'm there to cover the Senior Bowl.
And my guess is when you set foot in there, your foot sticks.
Yeah,
Because the floor gets a little messy.
You know,
there. It's,
you need that at some of those spots. It's like if you go into a Waffle House and the floor's clean, I ain't eating there.
That's fair. I respect that. And yes, so there have been many stories told at Veets. Some of them are appropriate for publication. But anyway.
The program's cool too. Maybe you'll get another program from next year to add back there.
Yeah, we'll find something. I think, again, Luke Kuechly is going to be an automatic finalist going into next year. I am hoping, fingers crossed, for his sake. I thought Luke should have been a first-ballot Hall of Famer this year based on what he did in his career. He was basically the perfect linebacker for the amount of time he played. Hopefully we get that right. Rules were different this year. Only a three-man class of modern candidates this year, including Panthers legend Jared Allen. And we'll have more on that later. But, yeah, it's the weekend, gang. We're moving into it. And I when I did the observations this morning after practice, there wasn't a lot to observe. Right. I mean, Andy Dalton, who owns an English soccer team, Leeds United, a percentage of it, let's say. We had that exclusively on Panthers.com earlier this spring. Andy was kind of goofing around, doing ball tricks, being Andy Dalton. You know, Bryce is going finger guns. Chuba's got a hat on backwards and shades.
Sunglasses. So
that's what Friday was like out there on the football field. So when I did observations, I wanted to just kind of take a broader view of it. And I started looking at different things. I mean, we've talked about the receiver stuff a lot. That's been a theme throughout the offseason. But the other thing that I noticed or did a little math on was the offensive line depth. And, again, we knew that they bring back the entire starting five from last year. You know they bring back Cade Mays, Brady Christensen, Josh Nyman's here for another year. Chandler Zavala's still around, former fourth-round pick. Having your top 9 guys in terms of snaps played from last year is a benefit, and that's something they've been leaning on all offseason as they want to build this personality. But I got to looking the other day when Cade Mays was working with the ones and Austin with the twos at center, that second line, which included Brady Christensen, Josh Nyman at tackle, Austin at center, and then Brandon Walton and Chandler Zavala at guard, that group has a combined 133 starts
Wow.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of starts for a second offensive line.
Right.
And to me, that just illustrates how far this team's come in terms of how they value protection. I mean, in the past, and I don't say this flippantly, and I don't say this to discredit anyone who's ever been here before, there have been starting lines in Carolina Panthers history that haven't been as talented
As the
second offensive line is now. And I mean, that's no shame to any of these guys on this current roster because, again, Damian Lewis, Rob Hunt at guards, Icky and Timo at tackle, and Cade Mays getting his day at center. That's still a good group, as we saw over the second half of last year. But, yeah, man, we've seen some lines around this place in the last 6-7 years that weren't nearly as good as that Austin Corbett-driven group with Brady and Yosh and Brandon Walton and Zavala.
And, coaches always say you want to have, at least 7 offensive linemen, 7 starting offensive linemen, 10 if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
This is lucky because you carry a little bit more than that maybe, but having essentially another starting offensive line as your backup means that if you need to plug and play, you can. I'm thinking about it. I feel like Yosh started for 2 straight years at one point.
Yeah, he's got a lot of starts and, come from the Packers to be that swing tackle, that veteran guy who's done a lot of stuff. I think he's got 25 starts over his career.
Yeah.
And in a couple last years. So it's a good group. And to me, that's one of the things that stand out. But the other thing that I mentioned in the observations, this pass rush group, and I want to give all the preamble that, to maintain my credibility as a ball knower. It's the second day of training. There's been 2 full practices of training camp. They're not wearing pads yet. It's not full contact. You're going against your own people. That being said, this pass rush group is very, very different. You saw Pat Jones make the big play yesterday. Princely has been all over the field a little bit.
Princely's got a twitch that just jumps out.
It really does. His quickness is able to stand out in these kind of 7-on-7 situations where it's like, oh, okay, wow. Now, when they put on pads and Ike Ekwonu is allowed to lean into people with his size, that's going to negate some of the Princely advantage, and he's going to have to learn how to deal with that as an NFL outside linebacker. But right now, when they're in shorts and shells and stuff, when you see Princely's quickness, he had an inside spin move where he kind of stopped and came back inside and spun, and it would have been hard for anybody to block under any circumstance. So his quickness is really an eye-opener for me these first couple of days, and I'm anxious to see what he looks like next week when pads go on, because when you think about what we saw out of DJ Wanham second half of last year, Pat Jones is another one of those 7-8 sack type guys. With Nick Scorton and Princely coming in and joining that group, the thing I mentioned, I don't know if there's necessarily a 10-sack guy among that club, but there might be 3 or 4 7s or 8s.
Yeah, and that adds up just as well.
Right.
Pat Jones, right now they can't touch the quarterback, but Pat Jones is always in the backfield. And it's one of those where, Bryce would have been able to escape it. He knows he's got that protection there right now. He does feel it, and he moves the pocket. But, there's probably a little bit of a difference in the game with how a quarterback would react. That being said, I've lost count now of how many times I've watched Pat Jones get there and then stop because he knows he can't hit him.
Yeah.
And so what else is he going to do? And it's like you can't help but wonder in a game what that would have looked like as well, because he gets there so quick. And Nick Scorton too, he's such a strong guy. Right. What does that look like when pads come on? He's got such a good bend. So does Princely, but he's so quick you almost don't even catch it.
Right.
He's just there before you can even appreciate the move. So it's exciting to watch those 2 develop as we get through off season and training camp. It makes you exciting because the Jags have a lot of good parts to their team. Offensive line maybe not one of their strengths. So what do you see? Do you see these 2 rookies kind of maybe have a good game that week 1?
That's a good point.
And that's looking really far ahead.
That's a good point. You also said one of the magic words of this early portion of Carolina Panthers training camp, and that's develop. We have been around. You've been here long enough to have seen evidence of it in the past, but when Josie Jewell was released because of the concussion symptoms that he was experiencing still, and again, as we said earlier in the week, I can't think anything but the best for Josie. Hopefully he
Right.
gets well soon, and he may end up back here. But right now, they're out there running around with Christian Roseboom, Trevin Wallace at linebacker. And the thing they haven't done is freak out and go sign some veteran.
Right.
And we've seen it in the past with the Panthers. They've gone out and gotten name veterans to fill in short-term gaps. I think it's interesting that right now Dan Morgan's willing to roll with the guys that are here right now. Let's give Trevin Wallace a bunch of reps. Let's give Christian Roseboom a bunch of reps. See what those two guys turn into. I don't think that that's the worst plan right now.
Right.
I started looking last night at the list of available outside or inside linebackers, and it's not a long list for one thing, and it's definitely not a long list if you filter it by 29 years old and under, because there's some veteran guy. I mean, listen, Eric Kendrick's still sitting out there on the street. That guy's a really good linebacker. Could he help this team? Sure. But right now, and I'm not saying they're interested in Eric Kendricks. That was just one of the names I saw on the list. But those kind of guys typically aren't as interested in the training camp experience in new places. Maybe they get more interested as we get closer to September. But I just think right now they're at that point in roster construction where they're willing to develop. They're willing to see what Trevin Wallace turns into, what Jacoby Wimman and Claude Cherilus behind him turn into, the undrafted rookies. Bam Martin Scott's a guy who a lot of people are interested in seeing once preseason game starts. And so
he's big.
It's a choice to not go out and make that move at this time of year. And I think it's indicative of the way they've put this thing together. There have been a lot of clamoring, a lot of outside speculation about they got to go out and sign a veteran safety. You know what they haven't signed lately? A veteran safety.
Veteran safety.
Because they're going to give those reps in July and August to Damani Richardson and Lathan Ransom. And let those guys kind of get into this thing and see what happens as they have more reps in pads, joint practices, and preseason games.
And that's not to say that doesn't change after the first joint practice,
No
the
doubt.
first preseason game. You know, it's not uncommon to let your starters kind of sit out during preseason as become the norm over recent years. I wouldn't be surprised if we see both Trevin Wallace and Christian Roseboom out there, same at safety, just so that they can see them at a little bit of a faster game rep, see what Trevin looks like without Josie next to him, get Christian Roseboom more experience calling the plays in this particular defense. I wouldn't be surprised if we see both of them. Does that mean something changes after that game? We'll have to wait and see. But like you said, Dan Morgan's not freaking out right now.
Right.
He's content to just kind of see they've made these moves intentionally. This staff, this front office drafted Trevin Wallace. They signed Christian Roseboom in free agency. They didn't bring them in here just to fill a hole. They brought them in here because they think they can play.
Yep.
And so, let's see if they can play with the two of them together. And I think I said this yesterday, but just in case I didn't, those two are sticking together as well. It's the past couple of days you don't see one without the other. So they're figuring out how to play together.
Yep, and that's a good thing. We did talk to a couple players today. Adam Thielen was on, and you talked to him a good bit about the whole Minnesota retreat. How did that come together?
So that is what Adam does every offseason. That Minnesota is his home. It's where he grew up. It's where he played college, NFL for the first part of years. He was there 9, 10, 11 years, something like that.
11.
He was there for a long time.
Yep.
And so he goes back to Minnesota every offseason. And he said when he's there every Tuesday and Thursday, he goes to the same gym. He works with the same people and goes down to this high school where his wife actually went to high school, uses their field. And so he said he kind of just threw it out there as a suggestion. He was hoping that somebody would bite on it. Because how you get excited. You want to invite people to your house and show them what you do for fun. He's like, I wanted to take the guys to the things I do in the lakes where I go. And so he kind of threw it out there hey, anybody want to come to Minnesota for a workout this off season? Which is not, all due respect to Minnesota. It's beautiful this time of year. It's not necessarily high on the list of places NFL players want to escape to. They're usually going to Southern California, Florida. Houston has become a hot spot to work out.
See, I'm feeling Adam Thielen on this.
Right.
And
it's actually
here's
a great
why.
summer spot.
No, this is a dad move right
That
here.
too.
The millennials don't understand this because y'all still want to go.
Millennials are in their 40s.
Y'all
Derek.
still want to go places and see things, and let's be exciting. When you're a dad, You know what you want to do? You want to stay at your house.
Yeah.
You want to be on your turf. Hey, do we want to go to the Smith's house this weekend? No, we want them to come to ours.
House,
That way we don't have to go anywhere. So that is huge dad move, and I respect it on Adam Thielen's part.
So Adam Thielen, a millennial, got people to his house for the summer.
Yeah, he's a millennial with a bunch of kids. He's ahead of the pace on that dad life.
I'm going to make Darin Google the age groups of millennials later. Gets everybody
Basically,
up there.
anybody younger than me. That's the answer.
Fair. They get up there. They do workouts for 3 days. He said, he gave a lot of credit to Bryce for pulling everything together. He said as soon as he suggested it, Bryce jumped on it. It was like, yeah, let's do it. Bryce arranged everything, got everybody there. And I think they had pretty much every receiver except maybe Renfro and Chisna. I think it was just scheduling stuff. They couldn't make it. But everybody else was there. And that's a large group to get to Minnesota in the middle of their off season. But they were able to do it, worked out, got to do some fun stuff. Adam took them out on a boat, something that he said Xavier Legette was not excited to do. He said he didn't even want to get on the boat. But he got on the boat. He especially didn't want to get in the water, which we had talked about when we saw T-Mac's video. But Adam was saying today, they got him finally in the water. And he's like, that's a lot of credit to him. That was definitely outside of his comfort zone, but he was willing to do it.
I respect it. And we got some cool XL stuff. Here's a tease for you. We got some cool XL stuff coming soon. I can't wait for y'all to see. It's just a little tease, something that's coming later, probably next week. The other thing that happened out there on the field today was, and I should have mentioned this when we were talking about pass rushers earlier. We caught up with Nick Scorton on the way into practice.
Oh, my goodness.
And, in case you guys missed it on Panthers.com, we had exclusive photographs of Nick Scorton's menagerie of pets.
Menagerie.
We got JR
Can you call
the
it
cat.
a menagerie if it's only two?
Well, close enough. But he's got JR the cat that's going to apparently grow up to be gigantic, and he's got Lily, the miniature long-haired dachshund. So I, of course, had to tell Nick Scorton the joke, which in case you missed,
he told the joke again.
Which in case you missed the episode earlier this week, did you hear about the cowboy who adopted a rescue dachshund? He wanted to get a long little doggy. And when I told Nick Scorton that joke, he just kind of stared at me for a second. And he went, wait, that's a joke. And I was like, yes, thank you for recognizing the form. It took him a second, and I explained that cowboys would say, get a long little doggy in the past.
It was good effort. Good job, good effort.
If you're old, Adam Thielen would appreciate that joke.
Yes, he would. There you go.
Adam Thielen would laugh at that joke. J.J. Jansen has already laughed at that joke. They respect it. The dads are with me out here.
Nick did tell us he was going to make an Instagram profile for his pets after camp. So we have that to look forward to. Because when you got two cute pets, what else are you going to do but show their pictures on the internet?
I'm here for the Lily content. My wife sent me a picture of her dogs that she wants me to make my lock screen.
So funny that that's still your lock screen.
Yeah, a couple of idiots I work with stole my phone and put themselves on my lock screen, and of course I don't know how to change that. Maybe a millennial will help me with that, but we've got the weekend to work on that. We'll get that straightened out before we get back in here Monday. There's a practice tomorrow, Saturday practice. We'll be there, Panthers.com. Panthers YouTube channel, have all the video and all the highlights. No happy half hour tomorrow because of soccer.
Weekend.
Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here Monday on the Happy Half Hour Training Camp edition. Have a good weekend, gang.